you that Mayor Johnson is somebody I see in this park. I see his wife Nikki, and I see the boys here. And he previously represented this area in the state legislature. So he's been a strong proponent of Fair Park, and we welcome him here today. Mayor Johnson.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lil. It's always great to see you. And it's great to see all of you, albeit from a little bit of a distance and spread out here. It's a great evening. It's always a great evening in Fair Park here in Dallas, Texas. And what an incredible day for Fair Park and for the city of Dallas. The Hall of State first opened 84 years ago as part of the Texas Centennial Celebration. Its awe-inspiring architecture has attracted countless visitors and events since that day. But over the years, we watched this beautiful building become shabby. The roof leaked, the paint peeled, the grime on the building hid its underlying grandeur. This monument to Texas history was fading and decaying. In Dallas, our city hasn't always been respectful to our history. We can attribute some of that to the spirit that's actually helped build and rebuild this city. Dallas looks ceaselessly into the future, desiring the new while discarding the ways and the places of the past. Sometimes that's for our betterment. Look no further than some of the names on this building. Names that helped shape our state's history, but in many cases, names that we now view differently in 2020 than people did back in 1936. We've grown up as a city. We've changed as a people. We're better than we were. And with the right planning now, we will continue to move Dallas forward. But the Hall of State is a piece of our past that is worth preserving. The incredible Art Deco architecture and design are timeless, and they add character to our great city. 3 years ago, nearly to the day, the people of Dallas agreed. They approved a bond program, Ms. Lil, that included $50 million to help restore our buildings at Fair Park. Of that, more than $14 million was dedicated to cleaning and restoring the Hall of State. Today, we see the fruits of that investment in the form of a newly refreshed exterior and an interior protected from water penetration and from flooding. With this renovation, we have honored our past as we embark on a new beginning. As many of you know, we recently approved a new master plan for Fair Park. And together with partners like Spectra, Fair Park First, and the Dallas Historical Society, we will bring life back to this crown jewel of our city. This is not only good for Dallas, it's personal. I was born and raised in this city. I spent a lot of time, as you pointed out, Ms. Lil, in this park. I represented this area in the legislature for a decade. And I want my two boys, William and George, who are 6 and 3 years old right now, to be able to enjoy this building for years to come. That's one of our major responsibilities as leaders and as parents, preserving the beauty in our city today as we build a better Dallas for tomorrow. With that in mind, I am proud to announce that I'll be back right here in this very spot next month to deliver my annual State of the City address. This will be a virtual event, the first time we've ever done it that way, and we'll announce further details in the coming days about that. But I can think of no better place to talk about where we've been as a city and where we plan to go. And so with that, I want to say thank you again to all of you for being here today, and welcome back to the Hall of State. Thank you very much.
It's hard to be in a no-touch world. Our next speaker is also an elected official and represents District 7. He was elected last year, 2019. It probably feels like a lot longer than that, Adam. He also uses this park. My family, my husband and I were out here for a picnic a few weeks ago, and who should pull up but Adam and Brittany and their daughter to have a little picnic by the lagoon. So I see him out here as well, and he's been out here visiting with me and walking the grounds. So I want to welcome Councilmember District 7, Adam Bazaldua.
Good evening, and thank you so much, Honorable Lil, for having me tonight. Thank you for all of the work that you've put into the Hall of State. As mentioned already tonight, the Hall of State was built in 1936 as a part of the Texas Centennial Exposition. It's a huge part of the pride of Fair Park and District 7. Donald Bartholom is responsible for the designing of the building's unique Art Deco architecture, and it cost $1.25 million to construct. Currently owned and managed by the Dallas Historical Society, and I just want to thank you again, all of you, for the dedication that you have to this gym. And tonight we get to see what that dedication, the fruit of that dedication, what that looks like. This building is important to many people for many reasons, and personally I have memories here that range from happy to sad and from young to old. I remember being on these very steps, and this was our designated meeting spot when my mom finally trusted us to go off on our own during the State Fair of Texas. And this was before cell phones, and we were just given a time that we all had to meet back here. I also remember having picnics with my dad on these steps before we walked over to the Cotton Bowl to see the Dallas Burn play when we had the MLS team here in Dallas. Then it came full circle to now being able to bring my daughter and seeing her excitement for a Taylor Swift exhibit here in the Hall of State, to me being able to get my first official portrait as an elected official on these steps that I remember those memories as a child. All the way to some memories that aren't so happy, but still memories that I'll never forget. Like coming here to honor and say goodbye to a dear friend, the Honorable John Loza, who would be extremely ecstatic at tonight's milestone for not only the city of Dallas, but for the state of Texas. We have hosted events honoring presidents, royalty, heads of state, all types of other dignitaries from across the world in over 80 years here at the Hall of State. This is a very special place. It's a special place not only to Fair Park and District 7, not only to the city of Dallas and to the state of Texas, but this is a very special place to the historical significance of our country. And I'm very honored to be here tonight at this milestone for where we are on the new chapter of the Hall of State. Thank you again for letting me be here.
Thank you, Councilman Bazaldua. Okay, so next I'd like to welcome to the podium Calvert Collins Bratton. Calvert is a 7th-generation Texan, a 2nd-generation member of the Dallas Parks and Rec Board, where she now serves as the Park Board President. So please welcome Calvert Collins Bratton.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening. It is a privilege to be with all of you. Any longtime Dallasite certainly knows this grand facade, the curved etc., the bright blue tiles in the ceiling that mimic the bluebonnet and the blue skies of Texas, and of course the Tejas warrior holding his bow with no arrow to symbolize peace. This is a significant building not only for Dallas, but also for Texas. While Fair Park may be full of more concrete than grass for now, it is still a park, and a rather large one at 277 acres. And just as we protect grass, trails, and playgrounds for the public to enjoy, so must we for these historically significant buildings. After all, if we don't understand where we came from, how will we know where to go? Thank you to the Dallas Historical Society for your years of partnership and stewardship of this magnificent building. And thank you to Phoenix One for your masterful restoration. Having worked with Dale Sellers on other projects, we understand this isn't just a piece of work, it is a work of art. To you and to your team, and to the Dallas Parks team who has put their heart into reviving this building. In 1936, as you've heard, the Hall of State cost $1.25 million to build, and in 2020, it cost $14.4 million to restore. Dollars well spent. So on behalf of the Dallas Park and Recreation Board and the citizens of Dallas, it is a privilege to unveil the new and improved Hall of State. And I hope to be celebrating with all of you when we welcome the rest of Texas home for the bicentennial in 2036. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvert. Next, I'd like to welcome to the podium John Jenkins. After more than 25 years of working in the Dallas Parks and Rec Department, John was appointed Director of Parks and Rec in April of this year. He has served in a number of positions that prepared him well for this leadership role, including his role as Deputy Director for Administration and Business Services. Congratulations, John, for your new role, and on the recent announcement that Dallas is a finalist for the National Gold Medal Award for Excellence in Management. Please welcome John Jenkins.
Thank you. What a beautiful day. And I'm not just speaking about the weather. I'm speaking of what is amazing when you give a little love and care. Can you hear me? All right. What's really amazing, why it is such a beautiful day, when you give love and care to such a historical building, it's amazing how it can make everything around it so much brighter. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with a speech. I want to spend a lot of my time today really thanking everyone who made this come to fruition for the restoration of this great work. Because many words have been said by many of the speakers about everything that went into this project. I want to thank the voters and other supporters for this opportunity for the transformation of the Hall of State. With support from the State Fair of Texas, extensive AD improvements now lets visitors with disabilities the experience to enter Hall of State through the front doors. To take this project from vision to reality takes the support of many people and supporters of the Dallas Park and Recreation and Fair Park. First, I would like to thank the Dallas City Council, Dallas Park and Recreation Board, Horsley Specialties, Phoenix One Restoration and Construction, Van Inner Studio Art and Restoration Specialist, Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability, and the Bond Office, Office of Arts and Culture, Office of Historic Preservation, the Dallas Historical Society, Spectrum, Fair Park First, Gensler, Pacheco Koch Consulting Engineers, Willis Winters, Louise Elam. It also takes creativity, talents, and skills of many park and recreation professionals throughout the Dallas Park and Recreation Department. I want to thank those park and recreation professionals who worked on this project. Leon Lim, Trent Williams, Stefan Kessler, Johnny Brumfield, Keith Burnett, Joseph Tawaras. And with these restorations, elevating it to its original glory, Hall of State will continue to shine brighter into the future for generations to cherish. Thank you. Also, I would like to recognize if there's any park board members here today, if you would please stand up. All right. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, John. Next, I'd like to welcome to the podium Willis Winters. Willis is an architect, a planner, and a preservationist. For 20 years, Willis worked for the Parks Department as a director. Yes, he was John's boss. It's no secret that Willis loves the Hall of State and Fair Park, as he literally wrote the book on Fair Park, which I have in my office. Upon his retirement, he thanked the citizens of Dallas for the profound opportunity to enhance the quality of life in our great city. Well, Willis, thank you for your commitment to this project and to Fair Park. Please welcome Willis Winters.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everybody. I get to tell a story tonight to finish. It was the summer of 1935 when the Dallas architect Mark Lemon contacted a young and relatively unknown architect in Houston by the name of Donald Barthelme. Lemon was a member of the 10-firm design consortium known as the Texas Centennial Architects Associates, which had received the commission to design the State of Texas building for the Texas Centennial Exposition, scheduled to open here at Fair Park in less than a year. Lemon and the Centennial architects had a problem. They had presented 5 design concepts to the State Board of Control, which was the ad hoc group appointed by the governor of Texas to oversee the design and construction of the State of Texas building. Unfortunately, all 5 schemes had been rejected, and Mark Lemon had been given the task of finding and hiring an architect to produce a new design that would hopefully be approved. Barthelme received his phone call from Lemon on a Friday afternoon. He was in Houston. He was asked to travel to Dallas by train that evening or the next morning at the latest to start work on a new design for a presentation to the Board of Control that was scheduled for the following Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m., less than 72 hours from the time of Lemon's phone call. Barthelme arrived in Dallas, met with his new employers, and was assigned a drafting table in the Centennial Architects' offices on Commerce Street, downtown. He was also assigned 6 architects that would work with him that weekend as he developed his new design for the building. Sunday, promptly at 3 p.m., the members of the Board of Control marched into the offices of the Texas Centennial Architects and gathered around Barthelme's drafting table, along with the 10 architects who were his employers. The young architect proceeded to review and explain his design for the building, showing his anxious audience 1/16 inch scale drawings, floor plans, and elevations, and as well as a rendering for the proposed building. The design was approved on the spot by the State Board of Control to the joy of the 10 Centennial architects. And it is essentially the building before you this evening, except that Barthelme proposed 2 additional wings on the north and the south end of the plaza, called the Hall of 1836 and the Hall of 1936. And these wings were ultimately eliminated due to the budget. Now I'm going to jump forward in my tale to near the end of construction. One day Barthelme was reviewing the shop drawings for the dedication plaques, which listed all the firms and important politicians that were connected with the project. This is one of the very last things that happens on a public building, the arrangement and layout of all the names that will then be sent to the foundry for the final plaque to be cast in bronze and installed on the completed building. As Barthelme was working on the drawing, Ralph Bryan, one of the 10 Texas Centennial architects and the designer responsible for the first 5 designs that were rejected by the State Board of Control before Barthelme came to Dallas, Bryan was looking over the architect's shoulder as he was arranging the names, including Bryan's, and smugly said, "Don, it's a damn shame that your name isn't on this building." To which Barthelme replied, "Well, now, Ralph, don't worry about that. Just go out and look at the building." He went on to describe how, starting in the far left-hand corner, where the names of the heroes of Texas are incised in the limestone frieze above the columns, Bryan could notice that the first letter of each name spells out Barthelm, B-A-R-T-H-E-L-M, without the final E, because there wasn't 2 heroes with the letter E. Barthelme told Bryan, "I've got my name on the building, all right." And I'll point out that the dedication plaque for this restoration has not been fabricated or installed yet, and it'll be very interesting to see the names associated with this magnificent restoration. In conclusion, I want to mention a few names of people that I see here, and it's fun to try to halfway recognize all of you from the nose up. But I do want to call out several of the superstars that worked on this project. John and others have mentioned some of them, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. Stefan Kessler was the project architect for the Dallas Park and Recreation Department. I see Marcel Quimby, and is Brian Nicodemus here from Gensler Architects, who are the project architects. And then finally, I think Dale, your name was mentioned, but I'd like for you to also raise your hand. Dale Sellers with Phoenix 123. And I believe Dale has his flags flying on the flagpole here, if I'm not mistaken. And finally, I'd like to recognize Dr. Teresa Daniel, Dallas County Commissioner, who's joined us tonight. Thank you for coming. Finally, going back to Mark Lemon, I collect Centennial memorabilia, Centennial Exposition, World's Fair memorabilia. And somewhere along the way, I was able to acquire the name badge, the medal, and ribbon that Mark Lemon wore to the ribbon cutting of the Hall of State, the State of Texas building in 1936. I don't have it with me, but Carl and Valletta, I'm going to donate it to the Dallas Historical Society. And it's been a great honor and privilege to work on this project with all the great people involved with it. This is perhaps the great restoration project, preservation project in Texas in our lifetime that we'll ever see. And I'm very pleased with the results and the investment on behalf of the citizens of Dallas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Willis, for that donation piece. So now if I could please invite the platform party up here, we're going to do the ribbon cutting.
Before we leave, could I ask everybody who was a craftsman or a contractor, we heap praise on Dale that we love and Michael Van Enter and others, but I want a show of hands. Dennis, Regina, everybody, can you give us? As has been referenced, it took about 9 months to build it. It's taken us 14 months to restore it. So we could not have done it without the men and women who worked here every day for 14 months. So thank you.
That's very true, because in March of this year, we weren't sure this day was going to happen with COVID happening. I'd like to thank our distinguished speakers today for joining us and celebrating this event, and I'd like to thank all of you here for coming out as well. Now I'd like to invite you to join us on a tour of the renovated Hall of State this direction, and if you'll please make sure to sign the guest book once you get inside the East Texas room. It'll be right out front. And thank you again, and have a great time, and we'll see you inside.